Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar hosted by Lindholmen Science Park concerning the national platform for AI research and innovation called AI Innovation of Sweden that we are setting up shortly after New Year's. We have people dropping in here, and we'll hold off another 20-30 seconds. We have currently about 80 people on the line from a long row of different organizations. You're all very welcome. People keep dropping in, so let's wait another 30 seconds before we get started. All right, let's get started. You're all mostly welcome to this webinar. We will run pretty quickly through a long list of slides covering the background for AI Innovation of Sweden, shortly about the international benchmark we've done leading up to the establishment of the center, especially spend time on the resources and services that the center will provide, how we intend to develop the engagement model, and how partners can become partners, and especially now shortly founding partners and who have already joined. And we will end this session in about 40 minutes with a Q&A session. And we'll get back to that just now. The two of us on this side is myself. My name is Martin Svensson. I work as program director for Lindholmen Science Park, and will be actively involved in setting up AI Innovation of Sweden. And with me here I also have Johanna.
Yes, Johanna Bergman. I'm project manager and work mostly with the life science part of AI Innovation of Sweden.
You are very welcome to post your questions in the question field. And we will try to pick up the most essential questions along the presentation. Bear with us if we miss out, but feel free to post them during the session, and especially we'll try to answer them at the end of the webinar. Right, so let's get into the background for AI Innovation of Sweden, where this comes from. But first, we want to give you just a very quick glance of what Lindholmen Science Park is. Some of you would know it as an area in Gothenburg, but we're also an organization working very heavily with what we call innovation programs. And on this slide, you see some of our more prominent programs, both national and more local. We won't go through all of these, but altogether we are about 45 people working very intensely in various fields with innovation programs together with a wide range of partners. Drive Sweden is, for as one example, the strategic innovation program for autonomous driving with over 100 partners today. And all the work we have done over many years now has also led up to the assignment of establishing a national arena related to AI research and innovation. And for us, this started in May when our Minister of Digitalization, Peter Eriksson, gave us the assignment to start preparing and planning for such a center. And this had been prepared by initiatives from primarily the automotive industry that realized early the need for national resources on a horizontal basis throughout across industries and applications. And from May, Lindholmen Science Park has worked very intensively to engage a huge audience in terms of industrial partners, academia, and not least public organizations as well. And what you will see today is what this has led up to. We got a few things with us into this assignment, and most importantly, obviously, some objectives. The key one being that we realized that we need to accelerate research and innovation in the AI field in Sweden. We are lagging behind, both in terms of number of publications from research, but also in terms of startups and in other ways. And the world around us is not keeping still. Countries are investing heavily in this, and Sweden needs to do the same. This development within AI is also very exposed to international competition, and not least to attract talent. One needs to become and create international attractiveness, which is also a key part of what we are doing. From the Inome Science perspective, we always believed in collaboration, and that goes for AI as well, perhaps even more in many other fields. And here we don't want to limit ourselves to exchanging ideas and knowledge between partners and companies, but also very actively working on sharing data to drive the research and innovation forward. We believe that in many programs that we drive, we do contribute positively to an innovation culture, and in this case, that also needs to extend to a data-driven innovation culture. Ethical and security values are very important, and these have grown upon us during the last half a year working on this, and we'll get back to that shortly. But one can say that not having ethical and security in place will limit the ability to attract talent. Another dimension that we got through the assignment was that we need to work across industries. And 4, let's call them verticals, were selected for us, and we have kept them, and we'll continue to develop within this framework. We don't want to limit anything beyond this, but this is where we have put our focus for now. The first one is technical products and systems. Obviously, the automotive industry took initiative, so that industry is behind a lot of that vertical. But we also have obviously partners like Ericsson, and we are talking to a long row of our large corporations. Bank and finance is one area that we intend to get started with for real now during 2019. We have had a few bilateral meetings, but we don't know this vertical from the past, and it will take us a little bit longer. Life science, led by Johanna, we engaged with early on, and during the last couple of months, we have reached a lot of engagement, not least from AstraZeneca and the region Västra Götaland as one of our largest healthcare providers. So they will be 2 of our close partners. Public sector in general, I think, will develop into something very important for AI Innovation of Sweden. And so far we have engaged with authorities and selected organizations to do this from a more strategic perspective. We'll get back to that as well. We have also looked into and started to build relationship with the larger AI initiatives that we can find throughout Sweden. Most of you, I guess, have heard about WASP, which is funded then by the Wallenberg Foundation. Very important initiative for Sweden and focused on research, especially then PhD students, but they have also a broader activity. This next to the investment that Chalmers will make by funds from the Chalmers Foundation is also very important. It's another of the larger initiatives that is going to be built during next year. Also to mention, obviously, is RISE, an important institute for Sweden that exists across Sweden and will contribute nicely to the overall AI development. And next to that, very timely, the government also decided to invest in professional training across the leading universities. This is also managed from Chalmers and will be important also for skills development related to AI. And we hope from AI Innovation Sweden to complement these initiatives. We don't want to compete or build redundant structures. So our aim is really to complement rather than anything else. Right. During the last couple of months, we have also made a few trips to see how does other ecosystem perform, how do they think, how have they grown. And through various studies, we have seen that there are a number of hubs being developed across the globe. Generally, one can say that the US, Russia, and China are behind the biggest investments in this field. But they don't necessarily are the same as having most of the talent at the moment. We have selected Montreal and Canada as one prominent place that we want to build a relationship with and where we want to benchmark our ideas. And the overall ecosystem in AI in Canada is very impressive, and we are trying to learn as much as we can from that. There will be reports available after this webinar about the trips made to Montreal. We have several key findings, and we don't have time to get into these today, but one can summarize by saying that activities and investments are done with a very strong sense of urgency. International competition will be fierce in this field, and from the Swedish perspective, we need to move. And that leads up to how we have then come to think about AI Innovation of Sweden as a national center or platform for AI-related research and innovation. And one can start with saying that we have selected a name with two ideas in mind. First of all, that we want to be a national center that provides value to partners across the country. And we've selected innovation due to the fact that we want to focus on applied research and innovation. We really want the projects to be close to implementation and close to demos, close to something that could be put into deployment. And from an overall perspective, we can summarize our ideas in this way. We want to build a national and a neutral platform. We want to focus on building and establishing horizontal resources across applications. And we will have a very, very strong focus on collaboration. That comes from the DNA of Lindholmen Science Park, but from the discussions we have had, both nationally and internationally, we see that collaboration is going to be a key in this field. And then we mean collaboration across industries, between industry, academia, and society. In more practical terms, AI Innovation Sweden will be a team of about 10 people, initially located in Gothenburg, Stockholm. We are looking at a budget of roughly 25 million annually. 2019 will be slightly less, and then hopefully growing after 2020. The funding will come initially from three areas: Vinnova, the region of Västra Götaland, and the partners joining the center. And the latter will obviously grow over time. We have set a vision, which is obviously difficult in this sense, but we really want to contribute to making Sweden leader in some sense when it comes to applying AI solutions in industry and society. We don't necessarily believe we can be leading when it comes to fundamental research, but when it comes to applying new technology throughout society, we think we stand a good chance. From that perspective, also, we want to be internationally recognized for our innovation and for how we, from an ethical and security perspective, apply this. The center's mission we have defined as serving as an engine for the Swedish AI ecosystem and to attract leading expertise to what we do. And this picture you will see across the rest of the presentation. This is how we structure and present what we call cornerstones. You can understand that as specific resources to the partners and to our surrounding. And we will go through this in a little bit more detail. Two of them, namely the data factory and the co-location, we had conceptually with us when we started this assignment, and they will constitute two of the most important ones. But the rest are equally important in the more holistic perspective, bringing into AI Innovation of Sweden a lot of expertise and experience that we have at Lindholmen Science Park. Now let's start with the data factory. I will let Johanna take the lead on this one and tell you what this means.
Yeah, thank you. So I will give you an overview of the data factory, which is a really important component of the center. And since this is not our area of expertise, we have done extensive work in both criticizing and understanding the data factory. And this has been done mostly by a lot of interviews with stakeholders, but also workshops during the autumn. So the overall aim with the data factory is to make data available for research and innovation. And the data factory should have the capacity and know-how on managing data end-to-end for pre-commercial projects. And by this, and this should, for example, include methods, storage, processing power, and also tools, for example, annotation, anonymization, versioning, and everything that you need to make data available. And the data factory should also be a professional recipient of data, and that could be both donated data, open source data, or data developed through dedicated data projects. And therefore, the data factory should also provide legal, ethical, and technical frameworks to handle data. Yes, so the data factory should be able to manage both donated data, develop broadly interesting data, enhancement of existing data sets, for example, donated by partners, have international collaboration to make broader data sets available, and also calls for proposals to develop new data sets. And one really important part of the data factory is, of course, the legal framework, and this is something we'll focus on. For example, standard agreements, checklists, high-level counseling, and relationship to legal counseling and expertise. And this is something we will provide to our partners. Yes, and together with our funding partners, such as Vinnova, we will also be able to have call for proposals on existing data sets in the data factory. And it can also be to develop new data sets. Yes, and to be able to test the data factory and also understand more of what's needed in the data factory, we'll have some pilot projects running. And we have a lot of discussions of different pilot projects, which one of them is regarding the SCOPIS registry, which is a national registry for research on cardiovascular and pulmonary diseases. And in this pilot, we should have a part of the SCOPIS registry, and the aim is to make the annotation process more efficient when it comes to coronary artery, medical pictures of coronary arteries. And since the overall aim with the pilots are to test the data factory, this is a really good example because medical data will require a lot from the legal perspective, since it's critical to handle medical data. And it's also interesting since this is a national registry, and we'll be able to make this available. Another pilot under discussion is regarding image and video data from the automotive industry. And this is an important pilot since it's a heavy data set, which will require a lot of processing power and also test the capacity of the data factory. We also have discussions regarding a pilot with natural language processing for Swedish, which we believe is of great value to a lot of our partners. And we also have a discussion regarding synthetic image data. Yeah, I think that was everything I had to say about the Data Factory today. So if you have any questions, write them in the questions field, and we will also provide you with more detailed information after the seminar.
Very good. Thank you, Anna. Next cornerstone to be mentioned here is what we call co-location. And the aim is very straightforward. We want to co-locate individuals, both researchers, developers, students, and entire development teams from partners. We want to have both researchers and innovator in the same physical location. And we want to build a few of these across Sweden. And the idea is pretty easy. This is a way to also create international attractiveness and to give partners the ability to, when they recruit their first or perhaps also their few developers and researchers in the AI space, the opportunity to be among other people with similar problems, with similar or complementary competence and complementary networks. So this, we believe, will very actively drive knowledge sharing and collaboration without us being involved on an everyday basis. And we think this can really stimulate innovation when we get these co-location sites filled with clever people. Well, first of all, let me go back before we continue into the practical things. This is something that not all parties have been interested in, but we strongly believe in it. And as one confirmation of this was when we went to Montreal, where we believe that we can co-locate 100 to 150 people at each site. Montreal is now building a co-location quarter with 3,000 people, from pure research to education and private companies being there to develop their own products and services. So I think that this is more important than we can expect from a first glance. The first co-location site will be located in Gothenburg at Lindholmen Science Park in the Ericsson building in a very nice location, and we have space for up to 100 individuals over time. The location is very nicely located in Gothenburg, and to start with, this will be the prime location of AI Innovation Sweden. But it will not end there. We have the objective to, during 2019, establish the second one. Likely this will be Stockholm and or Malmö. Let's see how the discussions develop. We want to do this according to interest from regional funding, and obviously from local and regional partners who want to use such locations. And early discussions started here. We really want to keep these discussions going with as many partners as possible, and feel free to reach out to us if you want to be part of those discussions. Let's also touch briefly on what we call the services. These are also highly important. We believe with our experience and knowledge, Lindholmen Science Park can do this very nicely. If we start from the right, we talk a lot about collaboration, and we want to extend it into a rich portfolio of development projects with external funding. We are really good in driving such projects, initiating them, finding consortium, defining the projects, and also find external funding for such. This is something we do across our programs today, and that's something we want to extend into AI Innovation Sweden as well. We also do nicely, we believe, centers of competences where we either directly or through partners and networks provide relevant information, knowledge, best practice or similar from time to time in seminars, conferences, and so on. And we will do that in AI Innovation of Sweden as well. Located in a few places, we will find modern ways of making such information available. Our programs today have a lot of international relationships, but when it comes to the AI space, we believe we need to develop these a little bit more proactively. and as you can hear, we have started, and we will identify continuously the places in the world where we can both build mutually interesting relationships, or where we need to be from time to time to make sure we stay on top of the latest of the development. So for partners, concretely, this could mean finding funding for collaborative projects, access to tools, methods, knowledge, or whatever you have, similar kinds. Collaborative problem solving. One idea, obviously, with the co-location sites is to have enough people around to help each other to faster solve critical problems for partners. And not least, we believe that the international network for general development, but also for specific projects, will be important to make sure we hook up with the leading researchers or developers in certain areas, then to make sure that our acceleration goes as fast as possible. As mentioned initially, we obviously also believe that ethics, security, and the impact on society will be a very, very important discussion to have, and we haven't come that far in this regard yet, but we look at this from two perspectives. First of all, we want to do what we can to, both on a national basis, be involved in discussing what good AI would mean. How do you, from a holistic perspective, make sure that you have ethical values, trust, transparency, and security where it needs to be when you develop AI solutions? It's easy to miss out of one of these aspects. Data biases, for instance, could be one aspect of this. We want to look into, as far as we can influence in terms of the projects we will be involved in, that we have holistic research and development early on, considering the possible impact on society. We want to participate in discussions with other leading national and international organizations, and over time also participate in the development of policies and regulatory aspects. So that's summarized as good AI. Another thing is also AI for good, where we hope to develop, let's call it a program in the program, where we attract international talent and funding to do very interesting things on global issues, such as poverty, for instance. What can be done there? I think we have an important task from a couple of nations across the globe, where we start from very strong values, and Scandinavia is certainly one of those areas where we can make a difference globally if we do the right things. But as said, we haven't come that far when it comes to this yet. This will be developed during next year. Right, the engagement model. We want the resources that we will build to be accessible as broadly as possible. We want it to be neutral for partners, whether they are in Gothenburg, Stockholm, Jönköping, Malmö, or Luleå, or anywhere else, and make as much as possible available. Obviously, the co-location sites are, from their nature, geographically bounded, and also the data sets might come with conditions set out by the donator or the data set owner that we can't predict at this stage. But by default, we want to make the resources available as far as possible. As you've understood, the AI Innovation of Sweden as such provides a number of resources, but not necessarily the funds for collaborative projects. We rather want to help our partners to find such funding externally. So the whole idea is to, on a project basis, make the resources available and help the partners or consortiums that are formed to find funding for their projects and utilize the resources in best possible way. We believe there will be many funding bodies around us wanting and needing to help out of when it comes to AI development. And we will make the promise that we know these funding bodies and will do our best to help partners fund their projects. Right, I think we are moving nicely on time. Do we have any questions so far, Johanna, that might be worth putting?
Yeah, we have one question that's really easy to answer. If the material will be available after the presentation, and it is, so you will receive an email today or tomorrow with all information. We have a question about the co-location and what the business model for co-location is when it comes to, for example, startups.
That is a very good question. So what you will see just now is the partnership model. And for partners, there will be a nominal fee to use the co-location sites. So it will be like how do you say that, inexpensive workspace that you can access. For startups, we have a specific model, and over time we might also build new models to make sure that young small companies can access this. But at the moment, there is a particular model that we will see just now. Is there any other question? We have one question about the NLP pilot, about more details. No, I wouldn't say we would be able to give more details in this call, but let's connect with us and we'll take it forward offline.
Yeah, and it was also a question about the cooperation with Swedish universities.
Yes, let's cover that in the partnership model also. So who do we want to join? At this stage, this is really formative, and we have outlined this in the following way. We look for partners that obviously have their own agenda, that they have their own need to accelerate their own research and innovations. This will span from organizations already having a significant AI team and development activity, all the way to organizations just having the realization that they need to work on AI to stay competitive or to manage whatever assignment they have from the government or similar. So that is obviously a key component. But we also try to stress that there are two other things that we really want partners to believe in, and one is to recognize the need of collaboration across industries, academia, and society. We're going to be really collaborative minded. And the last thing is also that there is a commitment to contribute to making Sweden a leader in applied AI research and innovation. And this means that as a partner, you cannot expect that investing in the center you have a direct return on day one. The return will come to all our partners. We are fully confirmed. We certainly believe in that, but we also want to see return in more general terms, in terms of positive effect on society, overall competitiveness for industry, and so on. And the partnership model we have developed looks like this. The funding will be primarily from public sources, but we decided early on that we also need to have proper funding from our partners. And academia and research institutes are welcome with cash or relevant in kind funding, corresponding to 500,000 Swedish crowns a year. Corporate partners with their own products and more than 250 employees will be asked for also the same amount, but in cash. Medium-sized companies up to 250, and companies primarily providing consultancy, not owning much of their own IP from an overall perspective, we have set to 250. And smaller companies with less than 50 employees, there is a ticket of 100,000 Swedish crowns per year. And the partners commit for the first 3 years, which is also the initial timeline for AI innovation of Sweden generally. the idea is certainly to continue beyond the third year, which is also, I would say, very likely, but that's the initial period we look at. AI-focused startups will be allowed to become partners by invitation only. Here we really want to see startups that provide AI services, methods, data, and have AI very integrated in their main business model. We believe that startups generally will certainly benefit from being partners, and we will have to find the ways for startups to join along the way, but this is what we have for now. Public partners such as individual municipalities, regions, authorities, we have set out to 250. And currently, the partnership looks like this. We have a number, about 20 organizations that have joined so far. We have a long list of organizations and companies we are discussing with. I think, Johanna, we are beyond 100 by now.
Yes.
And we spend half-hour days in bilateral meetings trying to come to conclusions with quite a few, and I will continue into January. We forgot to say that until the 18th of January, we allow all partners joining to be what we call founding partners. The partnership model will be the same after that for partners to join, but the founding partners will have additionally not only the title founding partner, but also influence on how the center develops from time to time. We have a government structure for that, which also can be found on our website. Back to this, you can see here already a good mix of corporations covering a few of our industries. We have been very happy to see the commitment from the consulting companies. There are more to join. We have a few discussions that are to be concluded shortly. But we're very happy because typically this segment is not partners joining into this kind of initiatives to drive innovation. So this tells us that we have developed something interesting. SMEs and startups is a list that will probably grow pretty quickly over next year, but we are very proud to have a couple of strong startups and one very interesting SME using AI throughout their service and product that have joined already. Academia is also a list that will grow quickly, we believe. We're happy to have University of Gothenburg and Chalmers to join us as founding partners at this stage. And as I mentioned initially, I think we could have spent 6 months just talking to public sector. But when it comes to individual municipalities and regions and so on, we realized that will not be worth the time at this stage. So we rather took the initiative to find organizations and authorities that could help us move the front with AI in a nice way. And we're happy to have reached a conceptual agreement with Sveriges Kommuner and Landsting to help us and to build tools and programs along the way to help municipalities and regions across Sweden to include AI solutions in their assignments, in their interaction with citizens, etc. And our tax authority has joined, and we believe that is very positive from the perspective of them being able to quite quickly apply AI within what they do. And we talked to a long list of other authorities, and you will see more of them joining. We're also very happy that our Swedish National Space Agency expressed interest and is joining. They have a lot of data and strong ambitions to get such data used and researched on and so on. And not last but not least, obviously Vinnova and Region Västra Götaland. We must extend our thanks to these organizations. We've had a very good and positive discussion all the way, and both organizations are behind making this possible. So we look forward to developing and delivering something of high quality. Right, Johanna, I think that covers what we set out to present. Yeah. And let's continue on the Q&A.
Yes.
Feel free, all of you, to enter questions in the questions field, and we'll take them one by one.
Yeah, so we have a question about personal AI projects, and if this could be the place for exchanging ideas and knowledge with others, or is it just a place for more established projects? I think that's a really interesting question.
That is a very good question.
We may not answer that today.
Maybe we can't answer that today, but for sure, over time, we want to be very inclusive. It's going to be next year be built for partners by partners, but we obviously want to have a number of open activities as well in terms of seminar conferences and so on. And feel free to at any time as individuals reach out to us, because there might be things that we do together with the partners that might be relevant, or where individual projects could tap into or learn or so on. So don't be afraid of getting in touch.
Yes, and we have a question about the action plans for 2019. If we have a rough annual plan broken down in quarters and goals that you want to reach during each quarter.
That is a brilliant question also. We have on the next slide an outline for first quarter. But to be honest, we have been so focused on getting the funding and the partnerships in place. And obviously, as most of you have seen, developed the overall concept, that we haven't come to that stage yet where we can honestly say that we have a proper plan for 2019. I think we would need throughout January, leading up to the inauguration of AI Innovation Sweden early February to develop that.
Yes. Okay, so we have someone here that believes that collaboration between industry and academia is important. Yes, but few universities seems to have joined so far. Why is that? Any plans to have more joining shortly?
Yes, brilliant question also. Thank you. I think our ambition was to have more on board at this stage. One answer is that we have, although we have spent a lot of time, we haven't had time to manage all discussions. And I think when it comes to the universities, we could have been more proactive throughout the autumn. There are a number of discussions going with some of our leading universities. KTH, Lund, and a few others that we hope to conclude within, let's say, the first quarter or so. We are not particularly worried about this aspect. Another aspect here is that obviously not all organizations, including academic institutions, know Lindholmen Science Park from before. So we have also somewhat of a journey to get to know each other and find the ways. But I'm very confident that you will see more universities joining along the way.
Yes. Okay, so another question. Do you need to be seated in Sweden, or can foreign companies join?
We will welcome foreign companies. I think what we want to discuss with such would be their agenda and how they want to contribute to the overall Swedish development. This is funded by Sweden, and one big part of this is for the Swedish industry and for the Swedish society. So we might have another few questions, but we also see that, as you've understood today, that we think international collaboration is also very, very important, not least also to keep our own industry up to date, competitive, and so on. We cannot rely on only national collaboration. So certainly the answer is yes, although we might ask a few more questions.
Yes, and will we facilitate contacts if, for example, a researcher is looking for collaborations in industry or elsewhere?
Yes, also very good question. I think this is probably the fastest value we can generate to partners joining. I think even we can help large organizations such as corporations and universities to help them network within their own organizations. But certainly we will be a very matchmaking activity. We will both organize events on a frequent basis where you have the chance to meet, but we will also on a one-to-one basis help partners to find the right collaborators.
Yes. And one question here about education. So will we be involved in stimulating and start courses together with, for example, Chalmers or University of Gothenburg?
Yes, we will certainly do. As a matter of fact, the initial ideas about what came to be AI Innovation of Sweden was research, education, and innovation. And we then also the government investing in the professional training with the 7 universities. We felt that education could be sort of say secondary. But as such, we certainly believe in the need for a change in our educational system where we become better on professional trainings from academia. And how we want to contribute is both to talk about this, but we also want to utilize the Data Factory, not least, to allow students, courses, and so on to use the assets that we will include and develop from time to time. So a tight collaboration with academia will be the main answer. But we also think that we need to find ways also to educate actually the society in general by broad courses, and we have no particular answer how to do that yet. But it's not only about the technical aspects; it's also about how do we help decision makers in industry, in public sector, to understand what steps they need to take.
Yes, and we have a question about collaboration with the EU and especially the Commission's new AI on-demand platform and a high-level expert group.
Yeah, also a very good question. Today, Lindholmen Science Park has a number of EU-related projects, but we must admit that we are not today that knowledgeable and that present in the European Union. So that is an ambition we have. We have realized that the EU might be one of the most important ways to generate collaboration and find funding. So at this stage, it's a strong ambition to know the European Union system very well.
Yes, and we have a question: what the center mean for an individual, like a developer or AI practitioner?
Also, very good question. So let's start with the first simple answer. If an individual or such individual is employed or working for, in one or the other ways, one of the partners, you should feel that you're welcome to utilize the center's resources and reach out to us anytime. One very practical thing along the way will obviously be to spend time at the co-location sites, either on a more semi-permanent basis to have your main location of work there, but otherwise being there from time to time to network, work with the people there, discuss your problems, contribute to others' challenges, and utilize these very practical environments that we will build, whether that's co-location or conferences, seminars, and so on. And also then, as I said, reach out to us if you're looking for something particular, and we'll do our best to connect you to whom we believe could be helpful.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think we don't have any more questions. You can still write questions if you want. Do you have something you want to add? I think maybe we can say something about how to become a partner.
Yes,
what the process
that is a very good thing. Let's actually flip up what's happening next, because that's the first item here. So at the moment, until as we said, the second half of January, we are very focused on concluding with a long list of discussions we're having, and anyone committing during that time or until then will come in as founding partner. And we are also happy to have discussions with organizations interested but not knowing that they might not make it to that within that time frame. The founding partners, as they are then established and get going with their in the governance structure, they will also have the ability to appoint new founding partners. That will likely be mostly large corporations contributing in particular ways in the mentioned verticals. But the way to get going with discussion is to find us on aiinnovation.se and reach out to me or Johanna or anyone else in the team there, and get the discussions going. We might not be able to take meetings the first couple of weeks in January, but reach out to us and we will answer as soon as we possibly can. What else is happening then, Johanna, during the next couple of months?
Yes, we will start the pilots, and we will also have a call for proposal on data pilots for partners. We have an inauguration in February. The co-location in Gothenburg opens. A founder forum for founding partners, and start to work.
Yes, and to do that we also need to build a team, and you will already find a few positions on the website. Feel free to read them, think about them, give us opinions, and not least share them with your network. We need all the support we can get here to find the right people. Building a team of 10 people from one day to the next is obviously challenging. So we won't rush it, but at the same time we need to get going, and we are certainly too few being able to spend enough time on building it. So we really look forward to next year and having more people on board.
And we will also send you all information and a link to the material, links to the open positions, and you will also be able to sign up for a newsletter. And then we got a question here about the next webinar, and then we can send you all information when it happens something here.
The next webinar is a good question. Feel free to give us feedback on how this, on the value of today's webinar and how you think it worked out. We are not 100% used to this, but we think that especially when it comes to this activity, we want to use webinars to reach out to many people in parallel. And next webinar, my guess would be around the inauguration, when we have more information to share. So early February could be the answer for now, at least.
We actually got a question about the co-location, if it will have open desks so that any partner can sit down and work if there is an empty desk. I think that's a good question.
That's also a good question.
Yeah.
We would like to say yes on that. There will be both an open space, perhaps not with so to say proper work desks, but where partners can come and socialize and sit for a few hours or a day. And then we will work on more, so to say, agreements on the other more permanent desks. That will include 100% fixed desks and also some where it's possible to work during a shorter period of time and so on. And we'll figure out along the way the exact fees for this, but we obviously want to keep them as low as possible within what the financials allow. But we want to lower the thresholds for being at the co-location sites because we believe this is important.
Yes. Okay.
I can say also the idea here is that we will agree with each partner who is the main responsible, and for you working for one of the partners, you should know where also to ask how to best interact. But you should always feel free to reach out to us directly.
Yes. And thank you for asking such good questions and showing interest in this webinar. Yeah.
Yes, very good. Thank you all. Really appreciate you taking the time to listening in, and I hope you will follow us. Feel also free to subscribe for the newsletter. There will be a link in the information coming tomorrow. And as I said, welcome to be in touch anytime. And with that, thank you, and Merry Christmas, we must say as well. All right, thank you all.